Okay, not sure how great I'm gonna do recapping everything in this vlog because everything's kind of just become a big blur, and I haven't, like, after I sent that video asking if it was cool if I sent you a vlog, I just completely lost my will to actually film one. So, gonna try. And first of all, most importantly, I hope you're doing okay, and I hope you're getting some days off so you can just focus on you. And I'm here if you need to vent about anything or need somebody to listen. I can gladly do that for you. And yeah. So the trip to North Carolina, we'll start with that. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, that's probably all this vlog is truly gonna be about. But it was pretty rough because I had worked 7 days straight, and on the 7th day I got up at 4 a.m., worked from 5 a.m. to 1 o'clock, and then drove to North Carolina. So by the time the game started, I had already been awake for like 14 hours. And that was just the beginning of the game, but it was very, very well worth it. And the atmosphere of the game was crazy. I'd never been to a live sporting event before. I'm imagining you haven't either. I don't really think like college football, not college basketball, high school basketball and college games. Fuck, what the fuck is happening? I can't talk. God. I don't really think high school football or basketball games count as anything. But yeah, the atmosphere was just intense. And so, like I think I said in my message, but I can't remember, Columbus plays in Georgia. And the only reason they played in North Carolina for this one game was because they had gotten so far in their conference's championship that they beat everybody else in their conference, so then they went to another conference to play. So, because usually it's Georgia and Florida and Alabama that they play in. So we were kind of like, this is literally most likely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We have to do this. So it was just about a 3-hour drive, which wasn't terrible. It was just rough since it was right after work. But anyway, back to the actual game. The atmosphere was so intimidating. Since it's their first year in the league and since they were playing out of state, everybody was there for the North Carolina team. I really, truly believe that aside from the few like family members that had traveled there with Columbus, I think Daniel and I were the only ones there supporting them. Which, you know, you kind of think like, oh cool, that's awesome, you guys got to be special. It was terrifying. We genuinely felt not unsafe, but just uneasy. Because, man, people get into sports, but soccer especially is like well known for how intense their fans get. I don't know what the percentage is, but they're more likely to break out in fights at soccer games because people who love soccer are just crazy. Can't relate. And so very early on in the game, Damien, who wears number 2, was guarding one of the North Carolina players, and they were really close to the goal line. He kicked the ball out of bounds, which means that the North Carolina team gets to throw the ball back onto the field right where it was kicked out of bounds. So instead of kicking the ball like to the middle of the field far from the goal, he kind of fucked up a little bit. And there was this guy that was sitting down from us that decided that the reason God put him on earth after that play was for him to heckle Damien. And having never been in that situation before, I think it was like 5 minutes deep into the game, 5 or 6 minutes, I told Daniel, I totally understand how people get into fist fights at these games. because the shit that guy was yelling to Damien on the field was insane. Just saying, like, you fucked up number 2. He's like, and then after that it was, attack number 2. He's the weakest link. He doesn't know how to defend. Just all kinds of like crazy stuff. I know that's just part of the game, and I'm sure a lot of the players kind of feed off of that and use it as motivation. You can see in the video from the live stream, Damien looks over at the guy like 3 different times, and just like it's so hard to spot that I think if I hadn't seen it in person, I don't know if I would have actually seen it in the video, but he just like barely like does his hand like this, kind of like brushing the guy off. But
across the goal line, Osildor giving chase to the ball, but Columbus gets down there quickly, and they're just going to kick this one out. And we're going to have a throw-in coming, courtesy of Martin Wanchi, as we are near the 5-minute mark here.
Man, if it was me, I would be like walking over to the stand and being like, fuck you. I could beat you the fuck up. So, yeah, that was intense, and it lasted for the first whole half of the game, basically. So, 45 minutes of that guy just talking shit about essentially the reason that I drove to North Carolina. So, it was, yeah, hard to not look down there and glare at the guy, but also he was very drunk, and I had to keep in mind people just do that, and also if I say anything, he's probably gonna yell at me and I will cry. So the whole game though, everybody was just really, really into it, like screaming constantly. One of our guys committed a foul and the ref caught it and stopped the play. And this woman screams out, "He's been doing it the whole time, ref!" Even though it was a foul that had not been previously committed at all. And one of our guys took a really hard hit. Like he was taken out like from the front and fell backwards on his head. And this, I think it was the same woman. She was very, very intense, screaming the whole time. And after our guy hit the ground, she screamed out, "W-E-A-K, weak!" And then another time, when one of our guys took another hard hit and hit the ground, she yelled, "Go back to Hollywood! Nobody believes your flops." It's just so infuriating. I don't know how people do that, like just scream out shit like that. I don't understand the concept. I understand cheering on your team, but like heckling the other team is just kind of wild to me. But we have this kid on the team named Javier Chateau, which, believe it or not, is just this little white blonde kid. And he gets a little bit cocky when he's playing. So even though there were, I think they said there were like 3,500 people there, and even though everybody was there for North Carolina, whenever he was like our main scorer, and whenever he would score a goal, he was like peacocking on the field, and people were getting so mad about it because I guess they felt like he couldn't come into their territory and be flexing every time he scored on their team. So one of the times when he scored, like, well, let me go back a second. He had been also getting really chippy with another one of the players, and like they both shoved each other, and he wears number 16, and this woman called out like you need to get 16 off of the field or something crazy like that. And they just kept like people like yelling at me like 16 boo, or like anytime he had an assist or anything they would boo him really loud. So then I think it was the last goal that he scored, he came up, which was so cool because he was right by where we were sitting, and he came up like to celebrate, and he was like
FC once again giving it back up, and a goal for Columbus FC at the 129-minute mark. That will put Columbus back on top by 1 goal again at 3-2. They've led 1-0, 2-1, and now
shushing the crowd. And Damien and another one of their players, Carter Berg, you can tell that they're like trying to get him to stop because he was just out of control, like cocky. And after they walked off, this guy, Carter Berg, like stopped and goes like this, like up to the stands, like sorry. And this person's like, you need to get 16 under control. And he was like, yeah, he's a little cocky, he gets like that sometimes. It was so sweet. I really like both, like the I'm coming to your town, I'm gonna beat your players, like fuck you guys, you ain't shit. I like that attitude, but I also like the hey, let's not be too disrespectful about this sort of attitude. So it was fun to see the both different reactions. And then of course they won, so like we won, so it was really good. After hearing them talk shit about us and our players the entire game, it felt so fucking cool to watch them win it. And they won it in overtime, double overtime, so we got to be there for like 2 hours watching them play. But there was this one guy that like sat down behind us beside a woman like towards the end of the game, and we cheered whenever something happened, like something that Columbus did. And then I heard the guy whisper, are they Columbus fans? And I just kind of froze. I was like, oh my god, this is the end for us. Oh, and also people kept calling them Columbia, and it was just getting on my last nerve so badly. I heard like 3 different people be like refer to them as the Columbia team or say something about the Columbia players. I'm like, how do you not even know who they're fucking playing? So secretly Daniel and I were referring to Hickory as Hicktown. Before the game started though, which I should have maybe started with this, but we got there early and got our seats so that we were as close as possible to the field, and we sat on the side that Columbus was practicing on, so not practicing but warming up, so we got to watch them like do all of their cute little warm-ups, and it was so fucking cool. And whenever Damien came out onto the field, technically it's supposed to be called a pitch, a soccer pitch, but it's also Hickory's first season in the league, so they play on a football field, which I've learned like a lot of NPSL teams don't have an actual soccer pitch they play on. So I'm justified in calling it a field this time. But whenever he walked out, Daniel was like, look, there's your man, he's right there, I'm gonna get all kinds of pictures of him for you. And he did. Like, a lot of the pictures that I have are ones that Daniel took, and they turned out really good. So it's pretty cool having that support from my mans to just accept that like I'm just always gonna have some not celebrity, but some athlete that I'm like obsessing over and looking up to. I was talking to Lacey about it, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely my hyper focus right now, and she was like, I think you have ADHD, Rachel. Hold on, I was gonna say something else about the game though. I'll probably think of more like about the actual game or like before it starts. Oh, just I get so starstruck in situations. I mean, it was weird anyway how quickly we went from like, I found Damien on Instagram. I was like watching his TikToks, which you know me, I fucking hate TikTok. I'm never on there, but I watched like all of his, as cringy as they are. And then just like very like kind of curious, like, wonder what soccer's really like. And like one of the Columbus games was streaming on YouTube, so I was like, okay, I'll watch this. And then all of a sudden it was just like all Daniel and I talk about is the next soccer game and getting to watch it. And then we're suddenly in North Carolina, and this guy that I've been like seeing all these videos and pictures of is just standing in front of me all of a sudden. It was weird how it just felt like, I mean, I was very starstruck definitely, but it also felt normal, just like, of course I'm here watching him play. Like, I don't know, I feel like things just work out really well for me, and I don't want to take that for granted. because I get opportunities, and I know that those are given to me, but also I try to make things happen. Not significant things, nothing that is like actually going to benefit me, but just little fun things I've been trying to make myself actually accomplish. So anyway, trying to remember where I was going with that before I got off on that little side road there. Oh yeah, so like anytime during the warm-ups, like any of the players, but especially Damien would like look up at us in the stands, I was kind of like, don't look at me. I can't fucking make eye contact with any of you. Don't say hi to us. Like, I just felt very weird and shy, schoolgirlish kind of, which is crazy. I've never been like that. I hadn't been like that with guys before. It used to be like, if an attractive woman looked at me, I would blush and be like, oh, can't make eye contact with her. But then any guy would just be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, hey, bitch, I'm attractive, and I know it. But now, like here lately, where I've, I guess, just been kind of more into guys, like the bi cycle has swung over to men. And yeah, especially when Damien looked up our direction, I was like, oh my god, I hope so badly he doesn't say anything to us, because I cannot speak and my face is just gonna be blood red. I said that to Daniel and he was like, you should say what's up to him, you should yell out and be like, hey guys. I was like, hell fucking no, not happening. So after the game, we stood there for a while and watched them like take pictures, and they got a trophy for that win, so they were on the field for quite a while, like celebrating kind of. And then they do Autograph Alley, which we didn't get to see as many players as we wanted to, because we hung around a little too long waiting for Damien to leave, and I kind of regret that, but it's okay. So yeah, Autograph Alley, like everybody's just like lined up and they like come through the line and they'll like sign whatever and take pictures with people, and we kind of just like hung back for a while because it was mostly little kids there to take pictures and stuff. Like we saw these two little kids take pictures with Damien, and then as they walked away, one of them went, man, I didn't ask what his name is. And I thought that's so cute, just little kids getting pictures with footy players just because they're there, like they have no idea who the players even are. And so I finally, like after just kind of watching for a while, I was like, I'm gonna regret it so badly if I don't ask him to sign something. And I didn't, like the shirt I was wearing wouldn't have been a good one to have him sign. I didn't really have anything on me, so I just like handed him my phone. I was like, do you care to sign my phone case? And he did. And I have a sticker in the middle of the phone case, and for whatever reason, he decided he was going to sign like right across the sticker, so most of his autograph came off. I just have like a little loop that was like at the edge of the sticker, so that's literally just a little tiny loop there. Now I'm pointing to that to show people like, yeah, I got his fucking autograph. I'm sure they're like, yeah, I bet you did. But and we told him that it was a really good game, and he was super nice. He's like 6'5", so it was kind of crazy being standing next to him, like looking up at him. And then we were getting ready to walk off, and we saw two of their players going into like the visitors training facility, and I like threw my hand up and smiled and was like, good game guys. And Daniel was like, y'all played great tonight. And I'm pretty sure it was Bruno Garcia, who is the captain of the team, and Jordi Santana, who's just, I don't remember what position he plays. But they both of them smiled so big, and I can't even remember which one it was now, but one of them was like, oh yeah, we saw you guys, and they seemed so happy that they had people there supporting them. I thought it was precious. So that was very cool. We went back to our hotel just like on a huge high from winning the game. Like getting to see your team win in person is one of the best feelings in the world. And Hickory is really, really easy to drive in. So it was basically like Oak Hill minus the sketchiness. So we like took all the back roads to get back to our hotel that night, and it was really nice. And then we started like over like the couple days after, actually I think it was maybe closer to like a week after, because I think we were already on vacation. Me and Daniel started like following more of the players, and they started following us back. And like some of them, like Javier Chateau, who never gave me the follow back, was still watching mine and Daniel's stories for a couple days. Like I think we had him, and then there was another player that watched our stories that wasn't following us. So that just seemed very funny, and like I told Daniel, it was like they just were all talking to each other about us like days after the game. Like, yeah, those people came out and supported us. They were the only fans there cheering us on. So yeah, I have, I think 3 or 4 of them followed me back. Not Damien, because he's too fucking famous, but that's okay. He did yesterday when I shared his post. Like, I guess it notifies people whenever you share their posts, which is something I have never actually experienced. You probably have. But, I forgot that I had shared it, so I was just like scrolling through all of my posts, just like looking at everybody who had seen them, and then I saw that he watched it, and for a second I had like a heart attack, and I was like, oh my god, what post of mine did he just see? But then I realized it was just his, and I'm glad that I didn't say something really lame or nerdy on it. Like, I can't believe I met this absolute king, even though I'm sure he would have just been either flattered or like it wouldn't have been anything to him, because he's been like he's been like Instagram and TikTok famous for a while. But yeah, that's my recap of the game. And then we went to Ace with Nan and Caleb on Saturday, so that was the Saturday before our vacation. And we were out there until midnight because they did like a DJ on the lake kind of thing, and you could swim late at night and play on all the inflatables. Have you been out to Ace before? Because let me tell you, bro, it is amazing. And they give you like life jackets, so you can just float around in the water. You fall off of one of the inflatables and you're fine because you're just floating around. So that was a whole lot of fun. And Nan is, I don't guess I've talked to you about this, she's moving to Wyoming because her parents live out there, and she wants to go back to school, but obviously she can't really afford to keep living on her own and go back to school and not work full time. So her last day here is the 12th, and I'm really upset about it, but I'm I'm letting myself be upset about it, because it does reinforce a lot of really shitty feelings. Like, I guess it's that like avoidant attachment kind of coming into play, where it like reinforces the feeling of this is why I don't get close to people, because they always end up leaving, or just there's like some emotional distance between us, which I'm accepting that a lot of the time, if it's just emotional distance, then that is because of me, because I won't let myself be vulnerable with people. But I feel like in some relationships I'm getting a little bit better about it, or I'm trying to, at least. It's still not where I want it to be, but all we can do is just keep growing and moving forward, right? So yeah, she's moving on the 12th, and that's what I was trying to say. Even though I'm letting myself like feel the emotions about it and just be sad and bummed, I'm also trying to focus on how big of a deal this is for her, how great of an opportunity it is. She wants to be a radiologist, so she'll do like MRIs, CT scans, that type of stuff. And where she works at the hospital in Beckley, she's been able to go up there on her days off and like shadow some of the x-ray technicians and stuff. And she's really, really happy about it. She keeps saying that she's going to move back after she graduates, but I am trying to tell myself that she probably won't, because when she has been out there to visit her parents, she comes back just saying how it's the best place on earth, and like she wishes that we could all move there. So I really think that she'll find her people there and want to stay, which is a good thing, because as wonderful as a person as she has a hard time making good connections with people. And I mean, I know there are going to be shitty people out there too, but a lot of the people that she spends time with out here just aren't the type of people she needs to be hanging around with. So I'm upset about it. I think she's like a once in a lifetime type of friend, because I feel like when me and her are together, there's no masks at all. Like, I am 100% me and the happiest version of me when we're together. And something that I've tried to, I don't know what the word is, just identify, accept, I don't know, in my relationships, is that they don't all have to look the same to be a good relationship, and they don't have to all have that deep and emotional connection. Because even though she and I can have like serious conversations and talk about our feelings, our mental health, typically when we're together, it's just that safe, I can say whatever I want sort of environment, where I feel like she really brings out my inner child, and she really does feel like a little sister to me. And I know that it's going to be so different. Okay, sorry. Melissa Borsman and Amanda parked beside me, and I had to pretend to be on the phone so they wouldn't come talk to me. So, I don't remember exactly where I left off, but yeah, it's gonna be really tough not having Nan here. But I think I was saying, I know that's gonna be different, because when somebody moves across the country, I mean, you can try to keep up with each other, but she is like ridiculously bad about texting back. So I feel like no matter if I don't know, part of me feels like, okay, well, I'm going to put in as much effort as possible to make sure we stay friends. Another part of me is like, the more effort I put in, if that isn't returned, then I'm going to start having like negative feelings towards her, and I don't want that at all. So I don't really know. I guess I'm just going to try to feel it out, and I will put in effort, but I am not expecting to get a lot of effort back. And it's not like her being a bad texter isn't because she doesn't care. It's because she has a lot going on all the time, and now she'll be going to school, so I think she's just kind of gonna stay busy and in the gym all the time and not really be replying. So I don't know. It's just a case of the it is what it is. Do I talk about Caleb now, or do I save that for another vlog? I might as well now, because I don't know when I'll get to vlog again. So with Caleb, initially I thought that I was splitting and that it was just all me and my mental illness, but he has changed a lot over the last maybe 6 months or so. And from an outsider's perspective, it's good change, because he's more confident now. He's found his voice. He's not afraid to stand up for himself. And he'll call people out. But that's not the Caleb that I developed an emotional attachment to. This does not feel like my little brother anymore. And I know growth is good, and I don't want to not celebrate anybody's growth, or like obviously I wouldn't say anything to him about it because he feels better about himself the way he is now. But he's become very hard for me to be around because the attention it constantly has to be on him now. You can be talking about absolutely anything and he can find a way to kind of relate it back to himself. And some of the things that annoy me are just like little petty things. Like somebody will, we have a group chat at work, and someone will post like Tiffany will post like, ew, the girls' bathroom smells bad, like don't go in there. And Caleb immediately responds with, it was me. Like every little thing, like I said, he relates back to himself. But it's more than that. I know those are just like, that's just kind of a silly thing, and I feel like a lot of people his age kind of do stuff like that. I think it's that the reason that annoys me is just because it's so constant, and because it's coupled up with all of the other things. Like when he and I are trying to have a conversation where we're talking about emotions, we're trying to be deep, I, as you know, take a long time sometimes to spit out what I'm trying to say. Me pausing and kind of looking up and like waiting for the words to come to me does not mean I want somebody to help me find the words or help me figure out what I'm saying. And he constantly does that, where I'll be like, I don't know, I just feel like, and I stop and I'm thinking about it, and he fills in the blank. 9 times out of 10, he's 100% off from what I'm trying to say. And that feeds into my feelings of feeling severely misunderstood, which I don't know if that's something that I've talked to you about much, but I feel like in probably every relationship I have, I am misunderstood severely. And some of that comes from my inability to fully communicate what I'm trying to say, but I also think a lot of it comes from just people making assumptions. So when I'm trying to say, I just feel like I'm so tired of coming into work every day and I feel anxious and like I can't handle it, and then he is saying, oh yeah, you just feel like, you know, maybe you need to put a little more pressure on yourself to do better. Like, so just something like that. It's like completely off, that sometimes it makes me want to say, are you even listening to me? But also the problem is we have these conversations at work. So like 99% of our communication and even our attempt at in-depth conversations happen when I'm already stressed out, I'm already overstimulated, and I want to tell him that I can't have these conversations at work because it's just making everything feel so much more overwhelming. And this sounds so shitty of me, but I don't want to tell him that because then he's going to be like, well, then we need to start spending more time together outside of Kroger. And right now, I feel like I don't want that. Like, it sucks so bad because he talks about his fear of abandonment a lot. And everything about the person he's becoming makes me want to bail on him. And I know I can't, and I don't know how to communicate with him without severely hurting his feelings. But you know, like when people talk about like somebody being like a mood killer, like everybody's having a good time and then somebody comes over and just like ruins it. I feel like he's becoming like that because me and Emery will be talking in Floral, and we're like laughing and goofing off and having a good time. And then he comes over and he's just immediately like, he'll either just stand there like silently and listen for a little bit to where then it just feels kind of awkward, or he'll come in and like dominate the conversation, but it won't be at all pertaining to what we're talking about. It's just all of a sudden like, me and my dad got into a fight yesterday, and he said this and I said that, and like he and his dad butt heads constantly, and Caleb never seems to learn that he needs to accept he's just not going to have a relationship with him, not a healthy one, and the less time he spends with him, the better. But he's like trying so hard to understand his dad better. When his dad is manipulative, he's an alcoholic, he's verbally abusive, he constantly tears Caleb down. But then because his dad turns around and says, sorry, I know I pushed your buttons and I do that intentionally, I shouldn't do it, Caleb accepts that apology and tries to move forward with him. And when I've told him in the past that I don't think it's healthy for him, he just kind of brushes me off and says that he's gonna try anyway. So I don't know. I know this is all over the place. I constantly talk to Daniel about this because I have so much guilt for not feeling that bond that I felt with him last year. I don't want to be the friend that's like, oh, you changed and I don't like you anymore. But it is so hard to accept this new side of him. And I feel like he thinks a lot of the time that he's being helpful, but it just comes across as harsh and rude. Like I've noticed it with Emery a lot. She's the youngest one in our group, and she's the most wholesome, sweet, like builds everybody up kind of person. And like he came up to her one day or she came up to us and we were talking, and she had some foundation over here that wasn't fully blended, and Caleb looks over at her and he's like, have you been eating like spaghetti or something? And she was like, what? And he's like, you got something all over the side of your face. And like, I know in his head he's like, okay, I am helping her out, I don't want other people to see this and embarrass her. But calling her out in front of all of us just felt really shitty. And like, you have to be careful with the way you word things and your tone. And like, he has this like know-it-all attitude a lot of the time now, where you can't tell him anything because he already knows about it. But it doesn't feel like he actually does know about it. It feels like he just doesn't want to be told. He wants it to seem like he already knew. I don't know. I need your perspective on this when you have the mental capacity to think about it and like help me deal with it, because I'm so hard on myself for not forming or not maintaining emotional bonds with people. And I don't know if it's borderline personality disorder. I mean, if it's solely that. I don't know how much of it is circumstantial. I don't know how much of it is just my, like I said earlier, like avoidance attachment or whatever it is, where I'm just always putting up walls and like pushing people away. Or I don't know. I feel like a really bad person all the time because of the way I view other people. And I know Caleb is going through a lot because he's really trying to dig deep into the reasons he is the way he is and find out what triggers him, and he wants to grow and be a better person. But even it's getting to the point where even when he says to me, like, I'm reading this book that helps you learn about, like right now he's learning about attachment styles, and everything just comes across as like so too much. Like like he just feels like he's doing too much. I don't know how to describe that. It's like he's, instead of doing it because he wants to better himself, it feels like he's doing it because he wants people to know that he's doing it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know how to fully get out the way that I feel, and I don't know how much of that is my fear of just coming across as like a really bad person, and how much of it is just that my feelings are so tangled up. I don't really know how to express myself. But yeah, when we went to Ace though, it was a better time than what it had been like the last few times we'd hung out, where it just felt like it was just us hanging out and it wasn't him like kind of putting on a show or like just needing to be the center of attention. And so I'm hoping that moving forward it's going to kind of get better like that. I don't know, bro. I wonder what it's like to just feel things and not judge yourself for feeling that way. And I also wonder what it's like to have friends that are just people you really enjoy being around, because I feel like with almost everyone that I form a bond with, I'm just, man, I've had the car running for like 2 hours. With everybody that I form a bond with, it's like they start doing something and I'm like, I try to back off because I don't like what they're doing, or I don't know, maybe I'm just mentally ill. On a lighter note, and also on the same note of maybe I'm just mentally ill, I bought some shorts that are identical to a pair of shorts Damien wears, and the happiness that it brings me to wear them and then see him make posts about wearing, like him making posts in them, I really am delusional, because I get this feeling like, oh, we have the same shorts, that's so cool, instead of, bitch, you fucking bought those shorts because he owns them, are you fucking crazy? But the funny thing is that they were shipped to me, I bought them off of ThreadUp, and they came from Georgia, so for a second I was like delusional enough to convince myself that they were his shorts that he sold. I don't know, man. At what age do you stop obsessing over celebrities and athletes? 30? Not that age.